Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey guys, my name is Jessie. I am the content manager here at Plaid. And if we haven't met before, welcome. I'm so happy you decided to join us for paint night. And if we have painted together before, welcome back. I'm so happy to see you. I see Paula in the chat and stuff. I see some of them popping up. So it's really good to see you guys. I haven't done a Michael's class in a while, so I'm super excited to be back and be painting with you guys. Tonight, we're going to be painting Fancy Feathers, which is really fun. It's going to be a quick little painting. You can see we've got some glitter on here. It's a really good way to kind of get into the summer mood. So I'm super excited to paint that with you guys. As always, we have our moderator here tonight. So today we have Caitlin. Caitlin is new here at Plaid, so we're really excited to welcome her to the whole Michael's class thing that we love to do every couple of weeks. So Caitlin will be moderating. So if you have any questions or comments, make sure to pop those in the chat and she'll either read them to me or she'll answer them herself. So make sure to say hi to Caitlin in the chat because she's brand new. I'm really excited to have her. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you guys what supplies we'll be using tonight. So I've got an 8x10 canvas here. So just any 8x10 canvas is fine. If you have a larger canvas or a smaller canvas, even that's fine. You can just kind of scale it depending on how big your canvas is. I've got my palette paper and just a variety pack of brushes, my paper towels and water. I've also got a hair dryer here just so we can dry in between layers to make the painting go a little bit quicker. And then as always, we'll be using our FolkArt matte acrylic paints. So the colors we have are Wicker White, Dutch Aqua, True Blue, Lavender, Bright Pink, Baby Pink, and then on my original painting here, you see it's super sparkly. I've got some Glitterific Neon. So this is pink neon. But in case you guys didn't know, in case you don't follow Plaid, May is Mod Podge month. So I do want to showcase some of our beautiful Mod Podge glitters tonight too. So I can talk about those a little bit later when we go to put them on our paintings. But this wasn't on the supply list. I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to Mod Podge because it is Mod Podge month here at Plaid. So I'll talk about those a little bit later too. But in case you see those sitting on my table, that's what we've got there. So Caitlin, do we have any questions about supplies?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna hit this button. Okay, awesome. Well, in that case, we can go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to paint the background of our canvas. So we're going to do what we call an ombre, which is really just a gradient of colors. So that means going from dark to light or dark to light to dark or just a variation of different colors. So in this one, you can see we have a lighter aqua color to a darker aqua. So I'm going to show you how I did that. To do that, we'll need our two colors. We will need aqua, like I said, and then we're going to be using Dutch Aqua as our lighter shade. So if you don't have Dutch Aqua, you can just add a little bit of white to this one, and you'll get a pretty similar color, so you'll be able to do this technique. So I'm going to put some aqua on my palette. And then some of my Dutch Aqua.
Could Michaela use Calypso Sky?
Yeah, Calypso Sky would be really pretty. Yep. So you can use Aqua and Calypso Sky. If you only have Calypso Sky, you can add a little bit of white to that and just have like a variation of those colors. Yeah, I love that color. That'd be great. Okay, so I'm gonna grab one of my larger flat brushes here. This is a 1-inch flat brush. And I'm gonna start at the top with my Dutch Aqua. Just gonna load my brush and I'm gonna start going left to right. Nice and smooth. I'm gonna cover the whole canvas. And I always get asked this question. You can feel free to paint your sides as we go, or you can paint them at the end. It is totally up to you. Or if you're gonna frame it, you don't have to paint them at all. So just starting on the top, going left to right, pulling down. You don't need a ton of paint, just enough to cover the canvas. You wanna make sure you get the whole face of the canvas covered with paint though. Left and right. And we're going to do this until we're about halfway down our canvas. I'm just picking up more as I need to.
Are we dry brushing?
Nope, I'm picking up more paint as we go. So every time my brush feels like it's getting a little dry, I feel it dragging a little bit. You can kind of see I ran out of paint there. I'm going to pick up some more. Got a little fuzz in my paint.
And is there a specific reason why we're using this brand?
Yeah, so this is our FolkArt acrylic paints. And so we here at Plaid, we are the makers of FolkArt. So of course, this is our favorite one. But the reason we love to use FolkArt is because it has really great coverage. It's really cost effective. It's very inexpensive. It comes in so many colors. There's literally hundreds of colors, and Michaels, I think, carries most of them. And it's just the best. It's really full bodied. It's really rich and creamy. So that's why we like to use FolkArt for our canvas painting. Okay, so we're about halfway down. So I'm not gonna rinse my brush in the water. I'm just gonna wipe it off a little bit on my paper towel. So I still have my Dutch Aqua in my brush, and I'm gonna pick up some of my regular Aqua, and I'm gonna do the same thing, starting from the bottom and going up. You can kind of see what's happening here. We're gonna eventually meet halfway in the middle and then blend these two colors together. And you wanna work a little bit quickly, just because you want these two colors to stay wet so that they do blend, because if the top dries while we're still painting the bottom, it's not going to blend together. Those two colors, we'll have to add more Dutch Aqua, which you might have to do anyway. It's not a big deal, but it's much simpler if we can just keep the two colors wet. And I'm just going back. If I have a little bit too much paint there, so I'm just kind of scooping it back up and spreading it, because you don't want to have a ton of paint on your canvas, just like I said, just enough to cover it.
And will they have access to this video later?
Yeah, so Michaels posts all of the recordings of their classes on their YouTube channel. So I really recommend whenever you're painting with Plaid to just kind of watch and follow along, and ask questions and interact with us, as we're teaching. And then you can go back and watch the recording later on and actually paint, and you can pause and rewind as much as you need to. Great question. So yeah, all of it is on Michael's YouTube channel. Okay, so now we're in the middle. So you can see I've started touching the Dutch Aqua. I'm going to keep going until I've blended up. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going, and then I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to keep going left and right, left and right, left and right. I'm not picking up my brush until it's off of the canvas. I'm going all the way off the canvas, left and right. And you can see how it's really beautifully and really easily blending those two colors together. It's really simple. You guys see how I did that? And that's the reason it blended so well, is because I did it wet with wet. If they were dry, it'd be a little trickier to blend. But now we have this pretty ombre. You can even blend it a little more in the middle. Just keep going up and down with that wet paint, left to right, and you get this really pretty gradient. All right, so give you guys a minute to do that. Let me know if there's any questions about how to paint the background.
And can you tell me again how often you do these tutorials?
Yeah, here on michaels.com, we do our paint nights twice a month on Tuesdays. So this is the first one of May, the first Tuesday that we're doing Michaels. And then the second class should be posted. I want to say the week after next on a Tuesday again. And that's going to be taught by Chris Williams. So you guys all know and love Chris. So she'll be here in a couple of weeks teaching our next May paint night with Michaels. So yeah, twice a month on Tuesdays. Alrighty, and kind of back to the last question, all of those paint nights are all on michaels.com. So we have probably hundreds at this point, I would gather to say. We've been doing it since 2020. So we used to do it once a week. Now we're doing it twice a month. So there's tons of paintings. You can go back and watch all of those paint nights on Michael's YouTube channel, because they're all there for free. So make sure to check those out. All right, so now I'm going to grab my hair dryer, and I'm going to dry my canvas really quick, just so we can start painting on top of it without getting all of our colors mixed together. It's a little wet. So just so you guys know, whenever I dry my paint, I do it on the highest air setting and I switch between hot and cold. So I start with hot. As my painting starts to get kind of hot and I can't hold it anymore, I'll switch over to cold and just kind of go back and forth. But you can see since our paint is matte, you can tell if it's a little bit shiny. I mean, it's still wet. So I'm going to dry it a little bit more. All right, so that should be good enough to keep going with our painting. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start laying out the shape of our fun flamingo here. So it looks a little bit advanced as far as the shape goes, but I'm gonna break it down and show you a really simple way with really basic shapes to draw this yourself. So don't be intimidated. I know a lot of times some of the other painters include patterns with their classes, and I very rarely do because I know you guys can do it. I try to keep the shape simple. And I have faith in you guys that you can paint it yourselves at home. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to start by getting a little bit of Wicker White. We don't need very much, just a tiny bit, because we're going to water it down, and we're going to do it kind of like an inky consistency, just to sort of like, I would say this, sketch out our shapes. So I'm going to get some water. You want to have a lot of water and just a little bit of paint. I know it's hard to see because it's white, but it's, like I said, kind of an inky consistency.
And can you use freeze paper for palette paper?
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people who use parchment paper, wax paper, and they kind of make like a stay wet palette. So you can get a big Tupperware container and put some wet paper towels in the bottom, and then put wax paper or freeze paper on top, and then put your paints on that and then close it. And that moisture keeps it wet. So you can kind of, keep all of your paints wet instead of, letting them dry and throwing them away between your paintings.
And which brush is that?
Oh, this is a #1 liner brush. So this is just the thinnest one I have in this pack here. So #1 liner brush. So we are going to start, like I said, sketching out these shapes. If you have chalk or a pencil at home, you can feel free to do that too. I always use a paintbrush. But if you're a little bit worried about maybe making a mistake, feel free to use one of those, but I know we'll be okay. Okay, so the first shape we're going to draw is for the body. So here, right here, you can see this is a round shape. So we're just going to go ahead and do a circle right here. And you can see it's going off of the side of our canvas. So a little bigger than my fist is how big you want our circle to be. If you're using an 8x10 canvas, it should be a little bigger than your fist. If you have a bigger canvas, of course, it'll be bigger, smaller, it'll be smaller. But that's how big ours is going to be. So I'm going to start on the right, and I'm going to start a little smaller than I need because I can always make it bigger, but it's going to be tricky to make it smaller. So I'm going to kind of look here. I'm going to start over here off my canvas and do my circle. Really simple. You can go back and adjust if it was a little wonky. It does not need to be a perfect circle because look, it's not going to be a perfect circle when we're done. We're going to paint all these beautiful feathers. You can put glitter on it. You just want that general shape so we know what we're going to work off of. So go ahead and paint your big circle, kind of going off the right side of your canvas. All right, so once we've done that, we're going to paint another circle, and that's going to be the head shape of our flamingo. And that's, of course, going to be here on the upper left corner of our canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it much smaller. It's maybe, I'm trying to think of what to compare it to for you guys. It's maybe the size of like a silver dollar. Let's say about that big. Definitely smaller than my Mod Podge cap, but definitely bigger than my paint cap. So right in between those two. So I'm going to paint it up here. And again, feel free to start smaller and then work your way to get a little bit bigger because we're going to cover it up. And I've watered my paint down because it flows really well and it's easier to paint over. Okay. There is my head shape. So I'll give you guys a minute to go ahead and paint in your smaller circle. We're kind of mapping out on our canvas where we want our flamingo to be standing. Okay, so once you've got that laid out, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna connect them. So to do that, we wanna kind of pick where the neck is gonna start on our body. So it's gonna be down here towards the bottom. And this one's kind of almost gonna go, it's gonna go right into the belly. So that's where it's gonna be. And maybe we'll raise him up a little. So that's where our neck is gonna attach. So at the top of the head to connect to that, and then the bottom of the head to connect to that. To show what I mean. So the top of the head is gonna be a little bit of an S shape. And everyone's does not need to look the same. It doesn't need to be perfect. Everybody's flamingo could have different posture and be standing at a different angle. So it's an animal. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. So we'll start here for the bottom of the neck and do an S shape and connect it there. You can go back and adjust it how you'd like. And that's a really good basis for our flamingo shape. So now that I've got that sort of mapped out, I'm going to look and I kind of see, does this look like a flamingo to me? So we can adjust from here. Now that we have our basic shapes, these are all the important parts, right? We can go ahead and we can kind of, move a line here, take away a line there, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and make this line lower because I want it to be a little smoother at the bottom there. He's going to have kind of a bigger belly. And then I'm going to make this a little pointier towards the top. So I'm just going to smooth it out, make it look a little more flamingo-y. Keeping in mind, we're going to have the beak there. Make his neck a little bit rounder in the front. All right, it's looking kind of ostrichy right now, but I promise he'll look like a flamingo later.
Or a snail.
Yeah, or a snail. I like that. Maybe we'll do a snail for next month's paintings. That's cute. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put the beak in. So I always like to start when I'm painting a shape by kind of mapping out where it's gonna go to. So we'll have the end of the beak stop right about there. So I'll make a dot. That way I know when I start painting my lines, my destination, where I'm trying to end up. So I'll start here at the chin again, and we're just gonna do a line, a little bit curved, going to that beak, to that point we made. And then this one, you can see on a flamingo, I looked at a lot of flamingo pictures when I was painting this. It's kind of straight, and then it kind of goes into like a curve, like a hook at the end. So we want to make sure we mimic that. So it's going to be kind of straight coming down from the face, and then hook at the end. Now that I've got it, we can adjust. I'll make it a little bit longer to look a little more flamingo-y. We've got our flamingo face. Everybody, just a minute. If you're painting along, and catch up. Is everybody doing okay out there, Caitlin?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Judith thinks it looks like a dinosaur.
I could see that for sure. I mean, birds did come from dinosaurs, right? So it only makes sense.
I was thinking that.
Logic. Okay, so the last thing we're going to paint in are the legs. So you can see here, they need to come from the body and kind of go in two directions. Because if you think about it, if this was a real flamingo, a picture of a flamingo, and it was bigger, you saw the whole body, it's going to go, and they're kind of going to get wonky at the knees. So that's why we have them going out in two directions, because they'll come back. That's kind of how their funky legs are in real life. So we're going to make this one going diagonal. And then the one next to it going straight down. I'm just making two lines. They're about maybe a quarter of an inch wide. Alrighty. And that is our flamingo shape. So the next step of our painting is we're going to start adding in those colors. So all of these pretty feather colors, we're going to start painting those in with different brush strokes. So I'm going to add a couple different colors to my palette now so we can kind of work with different colors all at the same time. So I'm going to get some of my baby pink. I'm gonna grab some of my lavender. And if you don't have baby pink or lavender and you just have sort of more basic colors at home, if you have a darker purple, just add a touch of white and you'll get this lavender is kind of a medium color. You'll get this color here. And then for baby pink, you just need red and white. So put some white on your palette and then a tiniest touch of red and you'll get something similar to baby pink. And I'm going to grab a small flat brush. I'm going to grab my 1/2 inch flat for this, for painting the feathers in. So I'm going to start with my baby pink. I'm going to pick some up. And we're always going to go with the shape of our flamingo. And what I mean by that is we're going to start here and kind of go down and up, down and up. So we're always going to kind of go in that direction. No matter where we start, we're going to be going in that sort of like wave direction in the shape of their body. So I'll show you what I mean. So if we start here, we're going to go like that. Pick up a little bit of water on my brush because it was dragging a little. Start here and following that shape. No matter how high or low you go, we want to make sure we're following that shape. We're going to be doing lots of brush strokes. Kind of try to stay in that, shape we just sketched out. And just be adding strokes of baby pink, always going in that same direction. And I don't typically add water to my paint, but my brush is dragging a little. It's a little bit dry in here. So I'm just touching it into a little bit of water. I don't want to dilute my paint at all, but I do want it to flow as I'm making these brush strokes. That's why I just put a little bit of water on my brush.
If you made the bird too far up on the canvas, should you put a bend in the leg, and where?
Yeah, you definitely can. If your bird's a little higher, feel free. So they'll kind of come down like, so if this was continuing lower, I would make it like he could, keep going straight. And then this one would kind of come back in like that. So yours would look something like that if it was a little bit higher on your canvas. Hopefully that makes sense. I always recommend too, pulling up a photo of whatever you're painting. So go ahead on your phone real quick, Google Flamingo, and just make sure you get those legs right. I always recommend trying to, use a real image of something.
And why do you use water instead of medium?
You can definitely use medium. If you feel like your paint needs to flow a little bit better, you can use blending gel or floating medium or even extender medium. But I don't have any in front of me, so that's why I'm just putting my brush in a teeny bit of water just so it flows a little better because it's a little bit dry in here. But yeah, one of those mediums, if you've got that, if you were used to painting with those, that would absolutely work as well. Okay, so that's enough for the pink. You don't have to cover it because we're going to be layering several colors. I'm not going to put my brush in water. I'm just going to sort of get some of that pink out and some of that water out on my paper towel. And now I'm going to take some of my lavender, which is this medium purple color, and I'm going to keep doing the same thing. I'm going to start on the bottom, and it's going to blend into that pink. Always going in the same direction. I'm trying to cover up that aqua. All right, I got a little too much purple, so I'm gonna go back with some of my baby pink and cover that up. I don't want quite as much purple as I did. I went a little crazy. And it's okay that they're blending together. You can see here it gets really blended at the end, so that's okay. All right, so you should have something that looks like this. A little bit of a blend with your pink and purple on the neck and body. And most of your teal or your aqua should be covered up at this point. If it's not, go ahead and do a couple more brush strokes and try to get that covered up so we can start working on more details. So while you guys are finishing up your brush strokes, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna mix a little bit lighter of a purple on my palette. So I've got white on here. I'm just gonna add a little bit more. And then I've got my lavender. So I'm gonna pick up some white. I've got my 1/2 inch brush still. Pick up some white and a little bit of lavender. I'm gonna mix those together. I have about 1 part white, 1 part lavender. I just want a little bit lighter of a color, just so we can have a little more variation.
What if you don't have white?
If you don't have white, if you have baby pink, you can add that and that'll lighten it up a little. I always recommend having white though. When you're doing any painting, white's pretty much a staple. You obviously can't recreate white. So a lot of colors you can recreate, like browns and pinks and, purples and things like that. But whenever you're painting, I always recommend having your primary colors, your red, blue, and yellow, and then white as well. You don't even need black a lot of the time. You can kind of fake it with your black. You can mix that, something similar, but those are really the 4 colors you'll always need. If you don't have others, I should say. But yeah, if you have another lighter color, like if you add a little baby pink, that'll lighten it up a little bit. Okay, so we've got our lighter purple here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint this on the head shape, and just kind of get some color on there. Just gonna follow our shape that we painted out. Then I'll do a couple strokes of this light purple on the body, just the exact same way that we've been doing these feathers. Should be looking something like this. Okay, so once you've got your head painted in, we're gonna add a couple brighter colors to our palette here. So we've got our true blue. We're gonna put a little bit of that on our palette. And then we've got our bright pink. It's one of my favorite ones to use in paintings. I don't know why. I'm always drawn towards this bright pink color. So I'll let you guys finish up your heads really quick. Just give you a second to catch up. And then we'll start adding some of these bolder colors. Alrighty, so I'm going to pick up some, I've got my same brush we've been using, the 1/2 inch flat, and I just rinsed it off. And I'm going to pick up some of my bright pink. And I'm going to start putting, doing this color towards the top of my flamingo's body. So you can see here, sort of, it's kind of the top area. It's like where it would be hitting light, or light would be hitting it. It's kind of the brightest parts, the top area. And then we're gonna go back with our darker blue on the bottom to kind of give it a little bit of a shadow, to give it some dimension. So I'm gonna take my bright pink and I'm gonna start at the very top. And you can see I kind of go off of the body here. I'll show you guys up close. So it looks like there's feathers. So kind of moving with the same shape of the body and then flicking it off. So it looks like we've got some wispy feathers coming off of our bird. I'm doing a few down lower. And it's blending in with the paint that we've got down, but that's okay. Looks like all the feathers are layered together. And then I'm adding a couple little strokes of this to the neck. So I'll put a little on the front to kind of brighten that up. Chest there of our bird. Maybe a little on the back of the head. And then I'm also going to go ahead and paint the legs with my bright pink because we're going to paint some colors on top of it. But go ahead and rinse my brush off. I'm going to get all that water out. Make sure I don't have any water on my brush. We're going to pick up some of our true blue. And like I said, this one we're going to keep towards the bottom. So this is going to be a very powerful color when we add it onto all of our pinks and purples here. So you just want to use it very sparingly. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go right along the bottom, the belly of our flamingo. And that gives it a little bit of a shadow effect. And I'm going to do some really thin feathers here. So you can either switch to a liner brush, or you can just use kind of, pull your brush down to get that really chiseled edge of your flat brush. So either liner brush, or make sure you have that sharp chiseled edge. I'm going to do these lines down here. And then we're going to use this blue and we're going to kind of connect our legs. So here, I'll show you what I mean by that. We're going to use it to kind of round out those edges so they don't look so blocky and make it look like our legs are a little more attached. And it's okay that we're blending it right into that bright pink. We get like a pretty purple color. Just kind of blend those in there. That's why we wanted to paint that bright pink so it stayed wet for our blue and it looks like it's all one piece. Now I'm going to take some of my blue and I'm going to add a little bit under the chin. So it looks like we've got a little bit of a shadow under there. It's right under the chin. Oops, I got some in the face. It's okay. A little under the chin there, and maybe a little bit on the back of the head too, just a little bit. So it should be looking a little bit something like this. And then the last couple details we're adding with our blue is, of course, the tip of the beak. So it kind of goes in this diagonal line, on a real flamingo, it's like that black portion of the beak, but we're using blue just because it looks prettier with our palette we've got tonight. So just that very tip, and it kind of goes down, the face kind of, you want to continue that line. So if you see where my finger is here, the top of the face, it's just going to go straight down. That's how we're going to find that line. So I kind of show you what I mean. So imagine our brush is going on here and then it goes straight down like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Imagine we're pretending to paint. We're not really painting, pretending to paint the front face. And then when it goes to the beak, we're just going to go straight down. And that's where we get that blue portion and then fill it in. Whenever you're drawing or painting shapes like this that are not the typical shapes you might normally be used to painting or drawing, it really helps to sort of use other shapes and where they are in relation to the shapes you need to make to kind of map out those different shapes than you're used to making, if that makes sense. So that's how, where is this connected? It kind of looks like a straight line there. So we're going to use that to map this out and make sure we have the shape looking right.
What shade is that beak again?
This is just our true blue.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to rinse my brush off for now. Okay. And then we have a couple more details to paint our flamingo, and then we'll move on to the background, and then my favorite part at the end, which is the glitter. So let's finish up the face here. So in this little area here, I'm going to grab a small flat brush. So here's a, oh, it doesn't have a label. This is a small flat brush. I want to say this is a number 2 flat. That's a guess, but that's what it looks like to me. So number 2 flat brush, and we're going to use this to pick up some baby pink and paint this open area. This should be the last open area of aqua on your bird. So we're just going to use this to carefully paint in this area with light pink. And you can even blend it into your face a little bit if you want. It doesn't have to be a stark line. You can kind of, you know, blend out that line. So kind of softening that line. And then we're going to keep going on these details of the face, and we're going to get some, I have my smaller liner brush here. So this is the one we originally used to kind of sketch out and map out all of our shapes on the bird. So I'm going to pick up some Wicker White. And now we're going to sort of find where we want our eye to be. So the eye on a flamingo is a little different than you may be used to painting eyes. On a person, of course, they're in the front of our face. Most animals, they're pretty close to the front. But when I'm looking at pictures of flamingo and I was planning this painting, it looks like it's smack in the middle of its head. You can only see one eye. So it looks a little funny, but that really is how they look. So I was like trying to make sure when I was painting it, I was like, is that really where flamingo's eyes are? And yes, they are. So I'm going to find the middle of that circle that we originally sort of mapped out. And that is where our eye is going to be, right in the middle. I'm going to make a bigger white area. It's going to be a bigger white dot, because then we're going to put our true blue in the center. So big white area. By big, it's really like no bigger than a dime. And fill that in. And then the same brush, we're going to kind of connect it down to our beak. So where the top of our beak is, the blue part, we're going to connect that. It's going to go up towards our eye and then sort of mirror that on the bottom. Kind of go down like that. And that's kind of the way the coloring on the face of a flamingo looks. You can kind of blend that in, kind of how we did with the pink just a minute ago. Kind of blend that in. If your pink is dry under there, you can pick up some pink and sort of blend it out. Just want those two colors to be less stark against each other. And then lastly, same brush, I just rinsed it off. I'm going to pick up some more of my true blue, and I'm going to make a dot right in the center of that white area, and that's the eyeball. And then the line of the mouth, where the mouth opens, it's going to be kind of just below that. And we're going to drag down, and it's going to kind of go through our beak. So you can see there, I just took my blue and I dragged down, and it dragged some pink onto the bottom part. So you can see the line all the way down. And that's how we're going to finish off our beak. Okay. So now we just want to add a little bit more detail, because you can see it kind of looks like a crazy eye. It kind of looks like a pool ball or something, and that's not the look we're going for. So we're going to pick up some of our light purple that we mixed earlier. So that was lavender and white. So we want it to be a little darker than the purple that is around here. That's what we're shooting for. So we've got lavender and white. We want a mid-tone between the ones you've already mixed, between lavender and this light purple. We're going to take this color and we're going to just kind of frame that white area so it doesn't look so crazy and wide-eyed. Sort of frame that on either side with our brush. Give it a little bit of detail. We can blend it into just how we've kind of been doing. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing on outside of that with my bright pink. There. And that is it for the body of our flamingo. Do you have any questions about those last few steps, Caitlin? I went a little bit quick there.
No.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the background. So you see we have this really fun sort of brush stroke pattern going on. It kind of reminds me of like lights or something, like lasers or something like that. I don't know why. I think it's really fun. It's like reminds you of a party. So I'm going to show you how I did that. I'm going to grab my, let's do our 3/4 inch flat brush. And we're going to pick up some of our, so it's dry. We're going to pick up some of our baby pink. And we are doing a dry brush technique here. So I remember someone asked that earlier, are we doing a dry brush? And we weren't then, but now we are. So what that means is, of course, we still want paint in our brush, but we don't want a lot. So we're going to pick up a little bit of pink and then we're going to wipe some of it out. A lot of times this is called offloading. So we load our brush and then we offload and we're kind of just getting rid of some of the paint that we put in there. So you can kind of see here, there's not a ton of paint in there. It's very dry. That's why it's called a dry brush technique. So we're going to start with very little, and then you can kind of get an idea of how much paint you're going to need in your brush for this technique and add more if you need to. So I start at the top, and I'm going to touch my brush down on the canvas, and then I'm going to sort of flick it, like kind of do a wisp, similar to how we did our feathers earlier, how we kind of flicked them up so you had that wispy end. So I'll show you what I mean. I'll start here, and then I'm going to pull my brush like that. I do a little bit more on it, so because you couldn't see it that well. So touch down and then flick it, and you'll get that cool little brush stroke effect. So you kind of have an idea now that you've done one, how much paint you need to have on your brush. Very little. And you're going to keep doing this all over your background, kind of in different directions.
And while you're flicking, do you mind telling me the 2 shades that you used around the eye again?
Yeah, for sure. So this purple, we mixed lavender with just a touch of white. And then on the outside of that, we used bright pink. You just want your lavender to be, a little darker than the background color, but lighter than just the lavender straight out of the bottle. That's kind of what you're shooting for. And with your background little wisps, you can cross over each other. They can go kind of zigzag over each other. There's really no rhyme or reason. We want it to be pretty random. And then I even got a little crazy. You can pick up a teensy tiny bit of bright pink too. Again, you still want to keep your brush super dry, but that will give it a little bit of drama. I'm getting a little too dry with my dry brush, so I'm adding a little more paint so you can actually see my strokes. All right, so really you can do as many or as few of these brush strokes as you want. It's really up to you and how you want your painting to look, whether you want it to be really full at the end or you want them to be a little more sparse. You can kind of just have fun with it and see how many you end up with. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and draw my painting because the very last step is to add our glitter. So I don't want to add our glitter. I see I have some paint here that's pretty wet still. I don't want to add my glitter over my wet paint because I don't want to smear it around. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry it with my hairdryer before we do that. right, so that's nice and dry. Okay, so now, like I said, it's the fun part. It's time for glitter. So in my original painting here, this is one of my favorite glitters that we make. If you're not familiar, this is called Glitterific. And this is in our neon color. So this is pink neon. And you can see our Glitterific has giant particles of glitter in a really clear base. So it's super condensed, so you get lots of glitter for every kind of smear or brush stroke you do. And it's super duper sparkly because of all those different sizes of glitter. So we can use that tonight. But I also, like I said, we here at Plaid not only are the makers of folk art paints, we're also the makers of Mod Podge. So May is National Mod Podge Month. So I want to talk about some of our really fun Mod Podge glitters that Michaels also carries. So this glitter is called Extreme Glitter. So this one, there's like different levels of glitter in Mod Podge. And they all come in our milky Mod Podge base, but then they dry super clear. So this one's kind of like a medium glitter load, if that makes sense. So I can brush some out and kind of show you. So this one you can kind of see here. I know it's tough because you can't really see it with the light, but this has like a medium level of glitter. Here, I'll do some of my paintings so you guys can see. I'm gonna follow the brush strokes of my feathers. And you can see there, like I said, the Mod Podge base is milky, but then it dries really clear, just like our regular Mod Podge formula. So you can kind of see that glitter level there. It's pretty glittery. And if you want something a little more subtle than that, you can use our Mod Podge Sparkle. So just like the title says, this one just gives you a little bit of a subtle sparkle. So it's really fun for projects like this. I love adding this one to paintings. We'll do some of this on the neck. So you can kind of see there, again, it'll dry much clearer. You have that super, you can see, there you go. Like a very subtle sparkle. And then if you want to get really crazy, you can use our Mega Glitter. So this is our Mod Podge Mega Glitter. This one comes in 3 colors actually. So I have gold here, but it also comes in silver and hologram. So this one has much bigger particles, as you can see. And so you'll get a much more intense glitter effect. So I'll do some here on my feathers. And like I said, this one comes in 3 colors, which is really fun. So it's great for adding different paintings depending on what look you're looking for. You can see that glitter. This one's got a lot, it's got several different size glitters in it, so it really catches the light really well. So anyway, I just wanted to give out our fun Mod Podge glitters a shout out. And again, they all come in that milky Mod Podge base, but they dry really clear. And now I'm sure you guys have been wanting to see the Glitterific. So I will show you that one. This is what I used in the original painting. It's sealed. So I'll pour it out here to show you. This one comes in a clear base. So right out of the bottle, it is super duper sparkly. So you can apply this with, it's super thick, you can see, with like a brush or a palette knife. It really just depends. There's lots of different ways to put on our Glitterific. So I'm going to put some up here. You can see those giant particles. Super sparkly. Look at all those different glitters. I love the way they look together too. And Michaels carries all of these awesome glitters, so make sure to check them out.
Can you substitute dragonfly glaze if you don't have?
Absolutely, you can substitute dragonfly glaze. That's one of my very favorite ones. I just got excited when you said it. So if you guys don't know dragonfly glaze, it's like an iridescent glitter top coat. So it comes in a milky base and it dries clear, just like our Mod Podge formulas. But there's different shifting colors in each one. So one of them's like golds, green, blue, and it literally shifts between all those different colors in the light. One of them's like red, violet, blue. I want to say there's 6 different color variations that you can choose from. And those are really fun to add to paintings because it really shifts in the light. They're beautiful. Isn't that fun? All right, guys, so you can feel free to add as much or as little glitter as you want. You can even add some to your brush strokes in the background, would be super cute. But that is it for our Fancy Feathers painting. So make sure you guys sign it. You've done a beautiful work of art here. And thank you so much for joining us for this painting. I had so much fun painting with you guys. Like we said earlier, all of these paint nights are recorded and posted on Michael's YouTube channel. So make sure to check those out. Make sure to go see this one. It's about 24 hours after the class that they get posted. So you can go back and watch it and paint along and pause and things like that. Thank you, Caitlin, so much for moderating. It was so much fun to get to chat with you in the comments. If you decide to post your painting online, make sure to hashtag Plaid Crafts and hashtag Make It With Michaels because we'd love to see. And we also have a really awesome Facebook group called Let's Paint with Plaid. So if you're not already a member, make sure to check that out. Just go on Facebook and search Let's Paint with Plaid and it'll come right up. Join our group and post your painting. A lot of our Let's Paint with Plaid members are here in the chat tonight. I've been seeing you guys chit-chatting. So make sure to check that out. Post your painting, say hello. We'd love to see you guys there. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.